The plasma rifle blast scorched the wall inches from Maya Chen's head as she dove behind her kitchen counter. Coffee cups exploded in ceramic shrapnel around her. "Zix!" she screamed at her 7-foot-tall alien roommate, who was methodically destroying their shared apartment with what appeared to be military-grade weaponry. "What the hell are you doing?" The Kethmori warrior, all crystalline blue skin and 4 muscular arms, paused his assault on their breakfast nook. His large, iridescent eyes blinked in that slow, confused way that Maya had learned meant he was processing human emotion. "Maya, friend," Zix said in his melodic, translated voice that always sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "I am practicing courtship rituals. The human databases indicate that males must demonstrate physical prowess to attract mates." Maya peeked over the counter, surveying the wreckage of their once cozy New York apartment. Scorch marks decorated every wall. Their couch had been sliced in half. The television hung at an impossible angle, somehow still displaying the morning news. "By destroying our home?" she asked, incredulous. Zix's secondary arms gestured helplessly, while his primary hands still gripped the plasma weapon. The research was very specific. Human males engage in property damage and aggressive displays to court females. "I have been studying your species' mating behaviors for 3 solar cycles now. 3 months. Maya closed her eyes and counted to 10 in Mandarin, then English, then the basic Kethmori she'd picked up since the Galactic Council had assigned her as Zix's cultural liaison. When she opened them, her roommate was still standing there, all 8 feet of confused alien warrior waiting for her approval. "Zix," she said carefully, "where exactly did you get this information?" His crystalline features brightened, literally, as his species' skin grew more luminous when excited. "I discovered a vast repository of human behavioral data called reality television. Very educational. There was a program called Jersey Shore that provided excellent examples of human courtship protocols." Maya felt something die inside her soul. "Oh no," she whispered. "Oh, Zix, no." Before she could explain the fundamental flaws in his research methodology, the apartment door exploded inward. Through the smoke stepped Director Sarah Martinez of the Department of Alien Affairs, flanked by 2 heavily armed soldiers in tactical gear. Martinez's usually perfect bureaucratic composure had cracked, revealing the steel underneath. "Chen," Martinez barked, her brown eyes scanning the destruction. "What's the situation?" "Cultural misunderstanding," Maya called out, still crouched behind the counter. "Zix is trying to learn human mating rituals." The director's face went through several interesting color changes. Behind her, one of the soldiers muttered something that sounded like a prayer in Spanish. "Stand down, Kethmori," Martinez commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd been managing first contact protocols for 5 years. "Lower your weapons." Zix tilted his head, considering. His species valued directness and strength, which unfortunately made Martinez's approach exactly the wrong one. "You challenge my courtship display," Zix said, raising the plasma rifle. "This is excellent. Maya friend will be impressed by my victory over rival suitors." The soldiers raised their weapons. Maya's blood turned to ice water. "Everyone stop," she shouted, jumping up from behind the counter. "Nobody shoot anybody." In the sudden silence, the still-functioning television provided commentary. Unprecedented breakdown in human-alien relations, as reports come in of incidents across major cities. The Kethmori delegation's behavior has sparked calls for ending the cultural exchange program. Maya's heart sank. This wasn't just about her overzealous alien roommate anymore. This was about the future of human-alien relations, the carefully negotiated peace treaty with the Kethmori Empire, and quite possibly the fate of both species. And it had all started because Zix wanted to understand human love. "Director Martinez," Maya said, stepping between the armed humans and her confused alien friend. "I need 5 minutes to fix this." "Chen, you have 2 minutes," Martinez replied grimly. "Because in 3 minutes I'm calling in a full containment team and your friend becomes a diplomatic incident." Maya looked at Zix, who was still holding the plasma rifle but now seemed uncertain. His skin had dimmed to a worried purple blue, and his 4 eyes were fixed on her with an expression she'd learned to recognize as distress. "Maya, friend," he said quietly, "have I performed the courtship incorrectly? Despite everything, the destroyed apartment, the armed standoff, the potential end of interspecies diplomacy, Maya found herself smiling. "Zix," she said gently, "we need to talk about human mating rituals, and maybe find you some better research sources." The plasma rifle lowered slightly. "You will teach me?" "I'll teach you," Maya promised, very aware that Martinez was checking her watch. "But first, can you please put down the weapon and apologize to Director Martinez?" What happened next would either save or doom the cultural exchange program. And Maya Chen, anthropologist turned reluctant diplomat, was the only thing standing between peace and interstellar war. Chapter 2. The Species Problem 2. Hours later, Maya sat across from Zix in the emergency DAA briefing room, trying to explain human sexuality to a being whose species reproduced through something called harmonic crystallization. Director Martinez paced behind bulletproof glass, speaking rapidly into her secure phone. "Let me get this straight," Maya said, her notebook filled with increasingly disturbing research notes. "Your people form mating bonds through synchronized vibrations, shared memories, and what essentially amounts to a psychic link that lasts for life?" Zix nodded, his skin now a calmer blue-green. He'd folded his 4 arms in a way that Maya had learned indicated deep concentration. "The resonance bond," he confirmed. "When two Kethmori find harmony, their life forces merge. They become as one entity with 2 bodies. It is sacred. And you want to experience human mating because..." Zix's skin flickered through several colors: embarrassment, curiosity, something that might have been longing. "Because humans fascinate me, Maya friend. Your species forms connections without the resonance. You choose to care for one another through decision alone. This seems..." He paused, searching for words. "Miraculous." Maya felt a strange tug in her chest. In the 3 months they'd lived together, she'd watched Zix struggle to understand human emotions, human relationships, the messy, beautiful chaos of life on Earth. She'd assumed it was scientific curiosity. She'd never considered that it might be loneliness. "Zix," she said carefully, "when you say you want to experience human mating, what exactly do you mean?" The alien's primary eyes met hers while his secondary eyes continued scanning the room, a Kethmori nervous habit. "I wish to understand how humans form bonds without the resonance. I wish to know what it feels like to choose love rather than simply recognize it." Director Martinez chose that moment to enter the room, her expression grim. She carried a tablet displaying what looked like news feeds from around the world. "We have a problem," she announced without preamble. "Your little demonstration this morning wasn't an isolated incident. We're getting reports of similar courtship displays from Kethmori across the globe. Paris, Tokyo, São Paulo. Alien warriors are trying to woo human women through property destruction and combat challenges." Maya's stomach dropped. "They all watched Jersey Shore? Apparently your roommate shared his research with the entire delegation through their telepathic network," Martinez continued. "We now have 47 highly trained alien warriors conducting courtship rituals based on reality TV across 6 continents. Zix's skin went a deep, mortified purple. "I wished to help my pod brothers understand human culture," he said quietly. "I did not know the information was incorrect." "Incorrect?" Martinez laughed bitterly. "Zix, 3 of your people challenged the Prime Minister of Japan to single combat for the right to court his daughter. The Brazilian president is in a bunker because a Kethmori warrior thinks aggressive negotiation is foreplay." Maya rubbed her temples, feeling a headache building. "How long do we have before this becomes an international incident?" "It already is an international incident," Martinez replied. "The question is how long before it becomes an interstellar war. The Kethmori High Command is demanding an explanation for their warriors' behavior. Earth's governments are demanding their immediate recall. And the Galactic Council..." She paused. "The Galactic Council is talking about suspending humanity's membership. The room fell silent except for the hum of air conditioning and the distant sounds of New York traffic. Maya looked at Zix, who seemed to be shrinking into himself despite his imposing size. "There has to be a solution," Maya said finally. "Some way to fix this." Martinez activated her tablet, showing feeds from news stations around the world. Every channel seemed to be showing the same thing: Kethmori warriors in various states of confusion, human authorities in various states of panic, and crowds of people demanding answers. "The only solution is immediate extraction," Martinez said. "We pull all Kethmori off-world within 72 hours, suspend the cultural exchange program indefinitely, and hope we can salvage some kind of diplomatic relationship from the wreckage." "No," Zix said suddenly, his voice carrying a harmonic undertone that made the windows vibrate slightly. "This cannot be. My pod brothers, they came here seeking the same understanding I seek. They cannot return to Kethmor without learning what they came to discover." "Which is what, exactly?" Martinez demanded. Zix stood, his full height impressive even in the large briefing room. His skin began to cycle through colors: determination, hope, something that looked like desperate resolve. "How to love without certainty," he said simply. "How to choose connection over instinct. How to be human." Maya felt that tug in her chest again, stronger this time. She looked at this alien warrior who'd been sharing her apartment, her Netflix account, her morning coffee routine, who'd helped her assemble IKEA furniture with 4 hands and infinite patience, who'd learned to make pancakes because he'd noticed. She smiled when she ate them. Who'd been trying in his own catastrophically misguided way to understand the thing that made humanity most human. "Martinez," Maya said slowly, an idea beginning to form. "What if we don't extract them? Chen, what if we fix this instead? What if we actually teach them about human relationships, the real version, not the reality TV version?" Martinez stared at her. "You want to conduct a crash course in human sexuality for 47 alien warriors while the world watches, and the governments of Earth demand their heads?" "Yes," Maya said, surprised by her own certainty. "That's exactly what I want to do." Zix's skin blazed with golden light, pure hope in Kethmori emotional expression. "Maya, friend," he said reverently, "you would do this?" She looked at him, really looked at him, saw the intelligence in his alien features, the kindness in his strange eyes, the loneliness he'd been carrying since arriving on Earth. "Zix," she said, "I'm going to teach you and your pod brothers everything I know about human love. The real version. The messy, complicated, beautiful real version." "And if it doesn't work?" Martinez asked. Maya smiled, feeling more confident than she had since the morning's plasma rifle wake-up call. "Then at least we'll fail spectacularly while trying to do something impossible." Which, she reflected, was probably the most human thing of all. Chapter 3. The Education Protocol. The abandoned warehouse in Queens looked like the set of the world's strangest classroom. Maya stood before 47 towering Kethmori warriors, each one radiating different colors of curiosity, confusion, and barely contained energy. Behind her, a hastily erected whiteboard displayed her carefully planned Human Relationships 101 curriculum. Director Martinez watched from a secure observation booth, surrounded by linguists, xenobiologists, and what Maya suspected were several species of alien observers who'd somehow gotten word of the unprecedented cultural education experiment. "All right," Maya began, her voice amplified by a translator system that would render her words in harmonic Kethmori. "Before we start, I need everyone to understand something very important. Human mating rituals are not based on combat or property destruction." 47 crystalline beings shifted with disappointment, their collective skin dimming to confused blues and purples. Zix raised one of his 4 hands. "But the research data..." "The research data was entertainment," Maya interrupted gently. "Reality TV shows are not documentaries, they're performances, exaggerated behaviors designed to create drama and conflict for viewers' amusement." A Kethmori warrior near the back, his skin marked with the geometric patterns that indicated military rank, spoke up in the melodic tones of his species. The translator rendered his words. You mean humans deliberately create false information about their own behaviors? Welcome to Earth, Maya said dryly, earning what she was learning to recognize as Kethmori laughter, a pleasant chiming sound like wind through crystal formations. She turned to the whiteboard and began writing. Human. Relationships are based on compatibility, mutual respect, shared interests, emotional connection and communication. Physical attraction can be a component, but it's not the primary driver of long-term bonding. The warriors leaned forward as one, their collective attention so focused that Maya could feel it like a physical weight. Physical prowess demonstrations? Asked another warrior. Not typically effective, Maya replied. In fact, they're usually considered threatening or antisocial behavior. Property destruction? Definitely threatening and antisocial, challenging rivals to combat. Illegal in most jurisdictions. The disappointed harmonics that rose from the assembled Kethmori sounded like a symphony of deflating balloons. But, Maya continued, and the room fell silent again. Humans do have courtship behaviors, they're just different. She began listing them on the board. Conversation, shared activities, gift-giving, but thoughtful gifts, not conquered territories. Acts of service, quality time, physical affection, but consensual physical affection. Zix's skin brightened. Like when you brought me soup when I was experiencing temperature regulation difficulties. Maya blinked, remembering the night 2 weeks ago when Zix had caught what might have been the alien equivalent of a cold. She'd made him chicken soup and sat with him while he recovered, teaching him card games to pass the time. Yes, she said, suddenly aware that Martinez was taking notes furiously in the observation booth. That's exactly the kind of caring behavior that builds human relationships. And when you helped me understand human humor by watching comedic films with me? Yes, that too. And when you defended me to your mother during the video call, even though she was suspicious of my species? Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks. She'd forgotten that Kethmori hearing was particularly acute. Zix, you have been courting me, he said, his voice filled with wonder. His skin cycled through rapid color changes, surprise, joy, something that looked like Aurora Borealis. For months you have been demonstrating human affection protocols. The warehouse fell completely silent. Maya was acutely aware of 46 other Kethmori warriors watching this revelation unfold, of Director Martinez's shocked expression in the observation booth, of the fact that this conversation was probably being recorded for posterity. I was being a good roommate, she managed to say. No, Zix said gently, stepping closer. You were being a good friend, a caring friend, a friend who noticed when I was unwell, who shared your favorite entertainment, who protected me from social disapproval. He paused, tilting his head in that thoughtful way she'd grown to love. This is what humans call falling in love, is it not? Maya's heart did something complicated in her chest. Around the warehouse, 46 Kethmori warriors were learning about human emotion by watching it happen in real time. Zix, she said quietly, human love is complicated. More complicated than harmonic crystallization. Despite everything, the international incident, the watching aliens, the career implications of whatever was happening. Maya laughed. Much more complicated, she confirmed. Zix's primary hands reached out, stopping just short of touching her face. May I demonstrate what I have learned about human affection protocols? Maya became very aware that this moment was probably being broadcast to alien observers across the galaxy, that Director Martinez was either taking notes for a commendation or a court-martial, and that she was about to become the first human to engage in interspecies romance on live interdimensional television. What did you have in mind? She asked. Instead of answering, Zix did something unprecedented. He began to sing. Not the harmonic vibrations of Kethmori communication, but an actual human song, Can't Help Myself, by the Four Tops, rendered in his crystalline voice with careful attention to rhythm and melody. As he sang, his skin shifted. Through every color Maya had ever seen, and several she was pretty sure didn't exist on Earth. It was the most ridiculous, beautiful, romantic thing she'd ever experienced. When he finished, the warehouse erupted in Kethmori chiming. Applause, Maya realized. 46 alien warriors were applauding their pod brother's courtship display. How was that? Zix asked nervously. Maya looked at him. This 7-foot crystalline being who'd learned human music to serenade her, who'd spent months trying to understand her species' emotions, who'd accidentally nearly started an interstellar war because he wanted to know what it felt like to choose love. Zix, she said, reaching up to touch his face. That was perfect. His skin blazed gold, and when he leaned down to kiss her, carefully, gently, with the concentrated attention of someone who'd studied human affection like a doctoral thesis, Maya heard Martinez's voice over the intercom. Well, I'll be damned. Chen, you actually did it. Did what? Maya asked against Zix's lips. Taught an alien to love like a human. Around them, 46 Kethmori warriors began taking notes. The education protocol, Maya realized, was about to get much more interesting. Chapter 4. The Ripple. Effect 3 weeks later, Maya stood in the United Nations General Assembly, watching Director Martinez present the preliminary results of what the media had dubbed the Love Project to representatives from 63 worlds. The transformation had been remarkable. On the main screen, footage played of Zix and his pod brothers, engaging in what could only be described as the universe's most wholesome cultural exchange. Kethmori warriors learning to cook for their human friends. Alien beings volunteering at local shelters, discovering that service to others was a form of love. 6-foot crystalline beings awkwardly but earnestly attempting to learn human dancing, guided by patient Earth partners. The Kethmori delegation has achieved a 97% success rate in appropriate cultural integration, Martinez reported to the assembled representatives. Property damage has decreased to 0. Assault complaints have been replaced by thank you notes. 3 warriors have been invited to Thanksgiving dinner. Maya smiled, remembering yesterday's video call with Zix's pod brother Kren, who'd been adopted by a family in Iowa and was learning to appreciate both corn farming and American football. The key breakthrough, Martinez continued, came from understanding that the Kethmori weren't seeking to replicate human mating behaviors. They were seeking to understand human emotional connection. Their species forms instant, permanent bonds through biological processes. The concept of chosen, developed, maintained love was entirely foreign to them. Ambassador Threll of the Rigelian Confederation, a being that looked like a cross between a praying mantis and a disco ball, spoke in translated harmonics. And the implications for broader cultural understanding? Unprecedented, Martinez replied. We've discovered that many species struggle with concepts of chosen relationships versus biologically determined bonding. The Andorian Collective has requested their own cultural exchange program. The Vegan Trade Alliance wants to study human concepts of friendship. Even the usually isolated cetacean worlds are interested in learning about human social structures. In the audience, Maya caught sight of the various alien observers who'd been monitoring the project. What had started as potential disaster management had become the most successful interspecies cultural exchange in galactic history. Dr. Chen, came a voice from the assembly floor. Could you elaborate on the personal relationship dynamics that emerged during the project? Maya stepped to the podium, suddenly very aware that she was addressing beings from across the galaxy about her love life. Zix, sitting in the observer section, offered her an encouraging flash of golden skin. The relationship between Zix and myself, she began carefully, became a case study in how different species can form meaningful connections despite biological and cultural differences. What we learned is that love, in all its forms, is fundamentally about choosing to care for another being's well-being and growth. And the physical compatibility concerns? Asked a representative from Alpha Centauri, whose species apparently had very direct communication styles. Maya felt her cheeks warm. Kethmori physiology is surprisingly adaptable. Their ability to control their molecular density combined with human creativity and patience has led to satisfactory solutions. Zix's skin blazed so brightly that several representatives had to shield their optical sensors. Maya shot him a look that said they would definitely be discussing his public displays of satisfaction later. The broader implication, Maya continued, regaining her professional composure, is that physical differences between species may be less of a barrier to relationships than previously assumed. The real barriers are communication, cultural understanding, and mutual respect. Ambassador Vex of the Plutonian Syndicate leaned forward. Are you suggesting that interspecies romantic relationships could become commonplace? Maya looked out at the assembly. Dozens of species, hundreds of different forms of intelligence and biological expression, all focused on questions of love and connection. I'm suggesting, she said slowly, that the universe just became a much more interesting place. After the session, Maya found herself on the UN building's observation deck looking out at New York Harbor. The city sparkled below them, home now to the largest interspecies population in human history. Zix joined her, his forearms wrapping gently around her from behind. Nervous about tomorrow? He asked. Tomorrow was the launch of the expanded cultural exchange program. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species coming to Earth to learn about human relationships, while thousands of humans prepared to travel to alien worlds to study other forms of connection and love. Terrified, Maya admitted. 3 months ago I was a simple anthropologist with an alien roommate. Now I'm apparently the galaxy's leading expert on interspecies romance. You are more than that, Zix said, his voice carrying those harmonic undertones that always made her heart skip. You are the being who taught an entire species that love can be chosen rather than simply experienced. You changed how 47 warriors understand connection itself. Maya leaned back against his crystalline chest, marveling at how perfectly they fit together, despite their biological differences. What did I change about you, specifically? She asked. Zix was quiet for a long moment, his skin cycling through thoughtful colors. You taught me that love is not about finding your perfect match, he said finally. It is about choosing to become a better being for someone else's sake. Every day. For as long as you both choose to keep trying. Maya turned in his arms, looking up at his alien features that had become so familiar, so dear. And you taught me that love doesn't have to make sense to everyone else, she replied. It just has to make sense to the people living it. Somewhere in the harbor, a ship's horn sounded. Above them, the first stars were becoming visible in the darkening sky, stars that were home to dozens of species now reconsidering everything. They thought they knew about love, connection, and the possibility of choosing your own emotional destiny. Zix, Maya said suddenly. What's going to happen to us? I mean, long term. Your people live for centuries. Humans have maybe 80 years if we're lucky. His skin shifted to the deep blue-green she'd learned indicated serious consideration. Keth-Mori bonding includes something your species calls life extension, he said carefully. If you wished it, if you chose it freely, our bond could equalize our lifespans. Maya stared at him. You mean I could live for centuries? If you wanted to, he confirmed. If you chose to share that time with me. Maya looked out at the city, at the harbor, at the sky full of stars and infinite possibilities. 3 months ago, her biggest concern had been whether her alien roommate was eating enough vegetables. Now she was being offered forever. That's a pretty big decision, she said. The biggest, Zix agreed. Which is why I will not ask you to make it tonight, or tomorrow, or even next year. Human love is about choice, remember? You taught me that. So I choose to love you whether you live for 80 years or 800, and you can choose what feels right for your heart. Maya kissed him then, standing on the observation deck of the United Nations building, with the lights of Earth spread below them and the stars of dozens of worlds shining above. When they broke apart, she was smiling. Ask me again in a year, she said. After we see how this whole teaching the galaxy about love thing works out. I will ask you every year, Zix promised, until you are ready to answer. Which, Maya thought as they watched the stars come out over New York Harbor, was probably the most human thing an alien had ever said to her. Epilogue. 1 year later. The article in Galactic Geographic was titled, Love in the Time of First Contact. How One Couple Changed Interspecies Relations Forever. Maya tried not to cringe as she read the reporter's breathless account of their whirlwind romance that reshaped diplomatic history. "Listen to this," she called to Zix, who was in their new kitchen making what he insisted on calling fusion breakfast, pancakes infused with Kethmori nutrients that glowed slightly blue. "They describe our first meeting as a collision of hearts across the vast expanse of space and species." "Inaccurate," Zix replied, his skin flashing with amusement. "Our first meeting was you screaming about proper bathroom etiquette while I tried to understand why humans require privacy for bodily functions." Maya laughed, settling back into their couch, a replacement for the one destroyed during his disastrous courtship attempt. Their apartment had been rebuilt and expanded, now serving as both their home and the headquarters for the Interspecies Cultural Understanding Institute. Through their window, she could see the bustling streets of New Manhattan, where humans walked alongside beings from 47 different worlds. The cultural exchange program had exceeded everyone's expectations. Earth had become the unofficial capital of interspecies relationships with beings traveling from across the galaxy to study human concepts of chosen love. "How many applications this week?" Maya asked, nodding toward the stack of requests on their desk. 237, Zix replied, bringing her glowing pancakes and settling beside her with his own meal. "Including 3 from species we've never made contact with before. Apparently word is spreading beyond the Galactic Council." Maya shook her head in amazement. What had started as a desperate attempt to prevent an interstellar incident had become a movement. The Institute now hosted relationship counselors, cultural anthropologists, and love-struck beings from across the known universe. "Speaking of applications," Zix said, his skin shifting to that particular gold green that Maya had learned meant he was nervous about something. "I received an interesting communication today." "Oh?" "From my homeworld. The Kethmori High Command has questions about our bonding process." Maya set down her fork. "What kind of questions?" "They wish to understand how a species can form permanent bonds without the resonance," Zix explained. "Several of my pod brothers have reported that their relationships with humans have achieved depth and stability that rivals traditional Kethmori bonding. The High Command is curious about the implications." "Implications for what?" Zix's skin cycled through several colors before settling on a warm amber. "For the future of Kethmori society. For how we understand love itself." Maya stared at him. "Are you telling me that our relationship is causing your entire species to reconsider their concept of romantic bonding?" "Yes," Zix said simply. "And they have asked us to come to Kethmor to demonstrate human relationship-building techniques to our planetary council." Maya set down her plate, her mind racing. "When?" "They have requested our presence for the next resonance cycle, in 3 of your months." "How long would we be gone?" Zix hesitated. "Perhaps a year, maybe longer. Long enough to establish a permanent cultural exchange program between our species." Maya looked around their apartment, their home, their life on Earth. Through the window she could see the office buildings where human-alien couples worked together, the parks where children of multiple species played, the restaurants serving fusion cuisine that hadn't existed a year ago. "We'd be leaving all this," she said. "We would be expanding it," Zix corrected gently. "Taking what we've learned here and sharing it with an entire world of beings who are just beginning to understand that love can be a choice rather than destiny." Maya considered this. A year ago she'd been a simple anthropologist. Now she was apparently qualified to teach alien civilizations about romance. "There's something else," Zix said, his voice carrying those harmonic undertones that made her heart skip. "The High Command has indicated that if our demonstration is successful, they would be willing to offer you full Kethmori citizenship, including life extension," Maya finished. "Yes. The choice you asked me to give you time to consider." Maya looked at him. This 7-foot crystalline being who'd accidentally nearly started a war because he wanted to understand human love, who'd learned to make pancakes because they made her smile, who'd spent a year patiently building a relationship based on choice rather than biology. "If we do this," she said slowly, "if we go to Kethmore and teach your people about human relationships, and if I accept their offer of citizenship and life extension, yes, we'd have centuries together, literal centuries to explore the galaxy, to help other species understand different forms of love, to see what happens when beings choose connection across every possible barrier." Zix's skin began to glow, cycling through every color she'd learned, to associate with joy, hope, and deep contentment. "Centuries," he confirmed. Maya smiled, reaching for his hand. All four of them, actually, since Kethmori expressions of affection tended to be thorough. "Ask me," she said. "Maya Chen," Zix said formally, his voice carrying harmonics that made their apartment windows vibrate with something like music. "Will you choose to share eternity with me? Will you help me teach the galaxy that love is not about finding your perfect match, but about choosing to become better beings for each other's sake?" Maya looked at him, at their life together, at the vast expanse of stars visible through their window, stars that were home to countless species just beginning, to understand that love could transcend any boundary. "Yes," she said simply. And as Zix's skin exploded in brilliant gold light as he swept her up in forearms and spun her around their small apartment, Maya realized that she was about to become the first human to help reshape how an entire galaxy understood love itself. It wasn't the life she'd planned. It was infinitely better. Outside their window, the sun set over New Manhattan, where humans and aliens walked together through streets lit by the warm glow of 1,000 different kinds of love. All of them chosen, all of them real, all of them proof that the universe was vast enough to hold every possible way that two beings could decide to care for each other. And in apartment 4B, Maya Chen kissed her alien partner and began planning their next impossible adventure, teaching an entire world that love, in all its forms, was always worth choosing, even if you had to learn it from scratch, even if it seemed impossible, even if it changed everything. The end.